Hello, fellow Mythrunians. Welcome to another weekly live stream. It's where we watch Paul code bugs for an hour and pretend it was productive. No, seriously though, last week we got to work on caves, and we're going to continue that this week. Before we get started, let me thank my patrons. Again, teamwork makes the dream work. You guys are super cool for doing this. Yeah, more the merrier. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we get too far in, so I have 832 subscribers. It would be cool if I could get to 900 by my birthday. So if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, which isn't actually on here, because I'm already subscribed to my channel, I guess. But anyway, and thumbs up if you think about it. So please hit the subscribe button, and maybe we can get to 900. I think if I get to 900 subscribers, maybe I'll start I'll start my camera up so you guys can see what I look like while I'm working. All right, so if you're on the chat, go ahead and say hi. Looks like I am streaming, so yep, got 2 viewers there. This thing's not updating, I guess. All right, so let's go get started. Where we left off last time, hold on, I gotta leave this up so that I can see chats. Was that I had made some I made the caves in the what you call it, the big round caves and the long linear caves. I'm going to show you what they look like in the game, because I did bring those up here. This week I was mostly working on sound stuff, because the dungeons, when they generate all those little campfires that it generates, were making sounds, and it was really killing the sound system to have 100 campfires going all within earshot, basically. So I tweaked a bunch of things about the sounds, make sure they're prioritized by distance and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, actually that's where we are right now. And apparently I have removed all the objects. No, I didn't. Just that one, I guess. Oh no, there they are. They just took a second to appear. So if we're right up to a campfire, you can hear it crackling and stuff, and you turn away, you can kind of hear it off to the left. And we got this one in here that's operating at a slightly different time. So we've got campfires. Let's see if I can quickly remember my way out. Yeah, I did a bunch of testing with this other thing that was dropping grates down. I think that this is the way out. So if we go far away, we won't hear those anymore. But over here, one of these directions, yeah, here it is. So here are the caves. Of course, it's really dark. You guys, I always worry that it's too dark for you guys, but I guess the live stream is better than the motion capture. So there's an interesting issue that somewhere along the lines, because the cave generation happens before terrain generation, and then the water comes in and says, hey, this is below sea level, so I'm going to put water here. That's actually supposed to happen, but there's a slight glitch in that it doesn't completely fill the cave yet, so you get this weird gap. But other than that, it's working pretty good. So I've got a cave that carves through and comes up out of the ground here, and then disappears off into the darkness over there. If we, boy, we got a bunch of, oh yeah, I left some debugging statements in for the, so anyway, if we go here, let's make some lights. Let's use magic white because it's super bright. So if we go here, put some lights around. Come on game, catch up. Yeah, because I was debugging the volume, I have, tons of logging going down there. You can see at the bottom. Yeah, so here we've got we've got cool caves. Of course, we're in the dark, so this turns the bloom up super high. So let's go real quickly up here, and we'll see, looks like from outside. So, kind of works. And so this week we'll be continuing where we left off there, and I'll start, instead of creating caves, set a seed and have like the caves propagate out from there. I don't remember exactly how I did it on Old Mythruna, and I meant to have time to check it out, but we'll kind of guess at it and see how we do. Yeah, so trying to think the best way to get started. Hey, good afternoon, Lando Calrissian. All right. Okay. So let's exit out of here. I think in order to, I was taking notes on sedactyl generation. In order to, where is the, oh, I haven't opened it yet. Cave generator. So in order, oh, this is old Mythruna. That's what I'm in the wrong place. There's the cave tile function. So in order to be able to script this a little better, what I think, actually, this is fine. What we can do, I think Groovy will let me access this anyway. So if we go over to and get ready, let's see. Tile gen is the world gen. We'll use world gen. That's the other thing I did is I worked on tile generation so that even the far terrain, well, where the caves that come up above ground, even the far terrain will have them carved in. It's not easy to demo at the moment, but it's working. So what do I want to do? I want to, let's set cave generator. Here I'll set it to null. And then down here, where I add it, oh, it's cave tile function. I will call it cave generator, that's fine. Okay. So then the world is set up before I actually render the world. You don't need to say this. We can do some stuff here. Let's see. Our cave. This will allow us to iterate without having to stop the tool all the time. That's where I'm going with this. So let's take this and make another one right next to it so we can see that it's working. Okay, so we'll say oh, that's actually what I wanted to change. Okay, so cave generators. So make this one like move it to the left, to the west 20 meters. So now we should get like a double. Yeah. Okay. So we're just trying to test, or just trying to get it set up to test, and then we can iterate on some different ideas. And we may decide that this area is not big enough to do what we want to do, and I'll need to expand it, which of course slows everything down, but and here we go. Generate, generate, generate. Oh, I gotta kill a bunch of logging in the generators too from last week's debugging session. While it's rendering, I'll go ahead and do that. What was line that we were debugging? So that's the one with all the extra crap in it. Yeah. Okay. All those are gated by debug. We should be fine. Okay. So it should have generated, yeah, it did. 2 craters right next to each other, in addition to the tunnels. And so now we have a case where we can generate our own kind of tunnels. But I do think we're going to want more space. And so what we will do is we'll run this one more time, but this time we'll give it the bigger grid size. Yeah, should be fine. And maybe a farther camera distance. And then for the world gen, let's give us some more space underground. So let's see where that puts us. The only problem with expanding the area is that it will take longer to render. Oh, by the way, here's the reminder that the link to download the last version, which was in January, up here in the top, along with the password. And also there's a Discord link on there that you can join the Discord server and say hi to all of us who are on there. Alright, just try it again. I'm trying to get another release out by the end of the month, although I noticed recently that last year's quote-unquote anniversary release was in the end of July because I was running late. And that may happen again this year too, because I'm not sure I can button up everything I'm working on by the end of June. But we'll see. Maybe there'll be a test build out by the end of June and another more official release by the end of July. It's my birthday. So my birthday's at the end of July. Hopefully that's where we can get up to 900 subscribers. 1,000 would be great, but alright. See, this is going to take a lot longer to render now. I may come up with sort of a in-between way of doing this, just so we can visualize what's going on. The other thing we didn't do is the variation. I suppose we could work on that. It would be faster. Okay, so now we have a lot more space to play with. For generating a real cave system, we can go deeper underground. But yeah, for speed-wise, let's work on the smaller area and do the radius the edge variation. Yeah. I think maybe that'll be more. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you rather see, random cave layouts or fixing the caves not to be so smooth? Because it just takes a really long time to render each thing. Let me see if I can look up what old Mythruna did and get a bearing on their cave generator. So first, basically if I just move my head inside of a block, then I can see them, if that's what you mean. In the current Mythruna client, if I put a block in my head, over my head, and I'm in such a way that I can't get physics out of it, then I'm trapped in there, and I can look around and see inside the world, if that's what you mean. But what I was thinking of doing is, if we work on cave layouts tonight, I may just work on the layouts separate from the world generation and just draw them as spheres and lines instead of actually rendering the world, so we can just see them hovering in 3D space to kind of see how that works. Real quickly, so here I find a point and I call add caves. Let's cave generation 1, add the caves. Okay, get a random cave to start from. If it's above ground, yeah. Given that we're given that we're already 15 minutes in, okay. Let me just real quickly understand this. So, if we had a 40% chance of that comment spam my TV live chat? Ah, interesting. No, I'm still just seeing the 4 comments. Okay, so we got underwater. We try again. So we start out with caves that are not underwater. Okay. Huh. I actually don't understand what this is doing. What does add caves do? Oh yeah, so this is what's generating the offshoots. Depending on how big it is, we decide how many splits we're going to make. If the radius is less than 4, we only do like no or 1 split. Like if it's a small one, we just continue. Though there's a random chance we'll do 2 splits. Yeah, the new Zelda is really impressive, and the ability to fuse things together, and it makes me jealous because, you know, Mythruna is supposed to allow you to make your own objects and stuff, but Zelda gets pretty close to some of that feeling. I haven't played it, but I've been reading about it because as a game developer, you know, that's interesting. And so then it's less than 10. We do 4 branches. Okay. Arbitrarily increase the offshoot count if we haven't branched very deep. Right, let me decide on how. 0. This is what I was really concerned about. So I create what am I doing here? I am taking the radius, basically plus or minus 2. Oh no. Max radius, but up to 2 to the max radius. 2 to max radius for our sub. S sub is whatever that was. Okay, so we're at the inner radius, outer radius. And yeah, line influencers. How did I decide the start and the end? Random position start. Huh, so I really just am just picking a random distance based on a random length. I thought I was doing something smarter than that, but that means tunnels can really just double back on themselves, randomly speaking. It would be rare, but it can happen. So I kind of get this algorithm, and what we'll do is we will take a slightly different path here. Let's call this cave gen Ruby and comment this out just so I can see it. And you know what, I'm going to steal the, yeah, we won't worry about the wet thing now. We're just trying to get an idea of what the layout looks like. And so instead of doing a full world gen, and I'm going to cheat and just grab all these just to have all those imports, and then we'll want these, we'll clear it. Okay, we'll make a fake cave, like a point influencer point. Actually, I can use the real ones and just not render them the same way. So let's go to our world gen. Oh, I do want here. So you'll see what I'm doing in a second. I'm kind of cheating. Actually, let's do... I do this for two reasons. It's easier to... putting these blocks together, it's easier to comment, sort of quote-unquote remove stuff from the running of the script. But also... it indents, and I prefer to have at least one indent for my code, and it gives me a good excuse to do that. Okay, so we'll do x size divided by 2, or let's say y size divided by 2. Whoops. Yeah, shift right is another way to divide something. It bit shifts everything to the right, which since everything's base 2, that'll divide. But I know for sure that I don't have to then cast it to int because Groovy's not going to be doing anything weird. And so if we take this and steal this little thing we were doing here, and instead of doing that, we can say subtract 20, 0, 0. I think that's what I did. 148. Oh, I removed all that, so that's good enough. So I'm just trying to make sure we get to a similar point where I'm rendering caves inside out, basically. So we can just see layout without having to wait for the full thing. Actually, we're always going to render them, so influencers dot each. Let's call it, we'll just leave it Yeah. If cave instance of point influencer, else if cave instance of line influencer. Okay, so these are the easiest to render. Draw point, draw line. We'll make some functions to do that up here. Point equals cave. Let's call it point. Oops, what am I doing? This should be a line. Okay, we'll do line for a second. We'll do points first. Okay. And point influencer has inner radius, outer radius, and type, which I'm not using right now, but so because of the way the caves are generated, I don't have my whiteboard up still, but we calculate a distance from a point. Say this is let's just make a point out here. Whoops. So we calculate a distance from the point, and if we're inside a certain radius, we consider that open space, and outside of a certain radius, we consider that whatever was there before. Well, you could call that subtracting, right? We're subtracting a sphere, with some randomness from the world. There's also should be the ability to add things back again, so we might want to add a bump into the bottom, and so you could have a sphere down here that's adding anything that's not already there. So you could subtract a circle here and add one back here, and so that kind of thing. So that's what that type is for, but I'm not using it at the moment. Everything is always a subtraction. But so x equals all right, let's make sure we've got some b equals point dot point. That's the only problem with using that. All right. So we're going to go from x to So x minus radius to x plus radius. And we'll do the same for, for y. And we'll do the same for c. And then we'll say double D. You know what? This was dumb, because if we do it simply based on the radius, then our math gets easier, because we don't have to constantly be subtracting out the center point when we're doing our distance calculations. You'll see what I mean. So there, we're just going negative r to r, and that lets us do stuff like x times x plus y times y plus z times z. And so that's distance squared from the center point. And so if our distance squared is less than our radius squared, then we can draw something there. And so we blocks. Is that what do I do over here? Block cell, set cell. Actually, I think before I normally, yeah, I already grabbed cells, so I shouldn't have to do that. Okay, so cells.set cell xyz, but it's not xyz, it's v.x plus x, v.y plus y, v.z plus z. And our value will be, we'll just set it to 1 for a moment to see what that's doing, and let's run it. Because we haven't run things in a while, and this is a live stream, we should be doing something. Okay. Hope you guys are still there. The dashboard's telling me my stream is awful, bitrate wise. Oh yeah. Okay, so we go to cave gem, execute script. Oh, it's coming. Huh. Okay, let's for a second let's shrink this back down to 30. So we don't need, it's really 120. It's just multiplied by 4. And the other thing we didn't pick up from here is that we need to force an update in order for it to redraw, which is what I was doing manually. Okay, so that'll force it to update. And then I will just to make sure things are running like I think. Alright, let's try this again. Actually, I didn't really... Oh yeah, I had to shut down to change the config. Boo, 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 boo. Alright, CaveGen. Execute script. Oh, it's there. Looks like a giant butt. Okay, so we probably want to pick a better starting point. Let's do divide by 4. Should render them down there. Okay, so now we've got 2 spheres. We're not drawing any of the lines yet. We can do that as well. And that will be little trickier, so I'm going to steal some code from Line Influencer. Two pressed hams, yeah. Okay, so we don't have to clamp, so, but that's the idea. Actually, I don't need this. I'm going to min equals new x3. Actually, we'll do line to start clone min local line dot end. Okay, so this is taking, what this does is it copies the coordinate that's the start of the line, cloning it, and min local takes whatever, for each of the xyz, it'll take whatever the minimum is and store it back into our clone, which is what we're storing in min. And so we'll do the same thing, but instead we'll do max. And so if we log this, this is the bounding box of the absolute starts and ends of the line. Actually, we don't have to restart there. We can just do that. Okay, so yeah, so min, max. So it's basically the minimum, whatever start and end, whatever in direction. This is the min will always be the lowest of XYZ, and the max will always be the highest of XYZ. And so then from there, we can add. I'll just do it here. Min, add local. So another thing in Jammy, if you didn't know, and actually in here, add would create a new vector. And so add local just adds things to the existing vec3. And these are my libraries, but they work the same as JMonkey Engine's libraries. So what we want to do here is add the line outer radius to x, y, and z. Actually, we want to subtract them. And to max, we want to add local. So now this should be the full bounding box. Execute scripts. And so, yeah, min and max should, what we should never see is this bigger than this. And so now we've got the full bounds. And then what we'll do is we will iterate over those and bye-bye, Pepsi. Okay. So x equals x min, or min dot x. X is less than or equal to max dot x, x plus plus. And so we do this again. And so y, z, 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 z. And so then, for here, we actually do need to calculate the relative values. In x, actually we want, what is it? Let's see, we also need start, we'll just get it so that we don't have to type it every time, and then direction, which is going to be line.end. And see, in Groovy, I should be able to do this because I have special Groovy extensions for my stuff that let me do regular math on vectors, which is kind of nice. And so then double length, just in case I need it. I grab it here, and we'll normalize the vector. I always kind of wish that normalize could return the length. It had to calculate it, but a lot of times normalize returns the vector again. Okay, so we know the direction and the length. And so we can do that projection trick like we did before. First we need to get the relative xyz, so relative to start. So x minus start dot x. We do this for all of them. X, y, z. Y, z, y, z. And you guys can check my math as I go, because I'm very famous for forgetting to change one of those from an x to a y or to a z or whatever. And so now we need to calculate distance from a point to a line. And so like before, we'll figure out how far we project down the line using our relative vectors, and I will bring up a whiteboard for this because this is good math. The dot product really is kind of a magic. Dot product is kind of a magic formula. It does some really neat things in 3D, and games like Doom, the original Doom, would have been impossible without it, really, because this is how basically they did their math without doing trig in order to do all that 3D stuff. So you've got a line segment like this and some point in space that you're trying to determine how far away it is. So you've got this point here, and so you make this can I change colors? Yes, but not easily apparently. Alright, so I won't worry about that. I do need to learn these tools a little better. Oh wait, maybe I can change the color. Okay, this just makes a thicker line, but that's okay. So you've got this imaginary vector here. That's what our xrel, yrel, zrel is. This is, you know, start and end. You know, start here. Start here and end here. And so what the dot product will do is it'll tell us how far along this we are projected if we had a right triangle here. So you know, dot 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 dot. So it'll tell us how far along we are projected. It'll give us this value, sort of this length. And so from there we know, you know, this point right here is the point on this line that's closest to this point. And then so we can get the distance just by calculating the regular distance between these 2 points. I know I'm not explaining it very well. It would be nice to have like nifty animations, and I'm sure someone has done that already. But that's what that dot product does. And the dot product is not like a lot of math either. It's 3 multiplications and 2 additions. It's just kind of magic that you can take these two, this vector and this vector, actually, you know, normalized vector and this vector, and, you know, multiply them together basically and get this length here. That's like a magic length that's super useful for lots of things. In this case, super useful for finding the nearest point anyway. And so then what we'll do is we'll clamp that project. Less than 0, that means it happened before us. Yeah, I don't know. Let's check. Yeah, so I could have done that. That's what the little arrow meant. So anyway, I'll know that from the future, and then yeah, I give the thickness up here. And so you can have some presets, I guess, and that's cool. So yeah, good idea, good call. Okay, so anyway, so if that projection that we did, we only care about it if it's on this line, and if our point's like way over here, then we would want the distance from that to this. And so if we project that and it turns out to be back here somewhere, you know, on this line, we'll just clamp it. So we'll never be any more than between here and here. That's what I'm doing here. If the projection is less than 0, projection equals 0. Else, if this is why we needed the length, if the projection is greater than length, then projection equals length. Okay, and then if we want to know where the point is, that point is start dot add. So basically start plus dir times projection without, just straight math. Whatever that dir is, we multiply. If you multiply a vector by a length, it makes that vector longer. We're just going to add that to start. So that is the point on our line that is closest to the point in space. And so now we can take that distance squared again. So we take the distance between the point on the line and I don't know if it will let me do this. Let's just check. I haven't written a clamp. I think Fast Math has one, but it does it in float. I need to add one to my standard utility toolkit, but technically any clamp is going to be slower than what I just did. Okay, so I've screwed something up somewhere. I was trying to see if distance squared would let me pass 3 values, and it may not. No signature method. Oh yeah. So then we get into this weird type issue because dir here. I should be able to say as vec3d. So this is a vec3i, which is an integer vector, and I want it as a vec3d, which is a double vector. Okay, so yes, we got farther. And it did let me do distance squared just from 3 scalars. Okay, so if distance squared is less than r squared equals line.outer radius r squared times equals r squared. Okay, so that's our outer radius squared. If our radius is less than or equal, should be less than or equal to r squared, then we draw a point, and we do that just like this. Only now, because we are actually using x, y, z, we can just do x, y, z. Let's see what that does. Yeah, look, there's our caves. So they don't look very fancy right now, but look, we can test stuff and we can see what they do. And maybe it would be better if I didn't use the, the bad type block. So let's pick a better type. And all of you would be modders, scripters, and so on. Let's see. This is in Mythruna land. This is how you do that. Let's say we wanted to look up int cave. Let's call it point cave equals this and line cave equals this, so we can have 2 different types for each one if we wanted to. So we find the type, block name, let's make this stone cube, and just to prove that it's different, we'll make this a wood cube. That should be really funny. So for the point cave, we'll do point cave. For the line cave, we'll do line cave. So if we run this again, whoops, I screwed something up. Okay. I hadn't needed it before, so it wasn't. And in this case, an IDE wouldn't have necessarily helped me because we're running in a scripting environment. Yeah, so now we can see the difference between a line cave and a point cave. But just since this is a debug view anyway, we can see. And so now that we've got that, we can do some real testing, and I'll go ahead and expand out our view again. Okay, config back to 64, which is really 256. And I can get at least started on the generator. So this weekend I'm going to be working on the Sedectile Manager, which is how all of the world sort of gets generated, and I'll integrate that back in probably into the mapping tool so I can test it over there. I hope to by next Friday, I have a 4-day weekend here starting today or tomorrow, right? And so I use that to finish up kind of some infrastructure related stuff. And I don't know what next week's live stream will be. I was trying to get enough of caves done tonight that I wouldn't have to do it next week and we could be on some other topic. But anyway, so now we can test caves. And the way it looked like, hey Jeremy, better late than never, right? Unless you've been here the whole time and are only just saying hi now. In that case, well, thanks for being here. Okay, so now we are in the place where we could, do some cave generation. So we will comment out this stuff. We will start at our center. That's where we'll start our cave. And we'll definitely make a random so we can set the seed. And then we will decide sort of a max radius. In this case, we had it set to 20. And so then, yeah, but what we want to do is we probably want to make some seeds. And so what we'll do is we'll add that initial seed, which was our original one. And then for each seed, we'll make some caves. And so in this case, max radius is the seed outer radius. And count equals 0. I'm just stealing some some code from old Mythruna. I missed the last two and almost missed this one. Uh-oh. Okay, so we're just trying to duplicate some of this code from down there. In fact, I'll steal it. And I'll reformat it to my current bracing style. I could go on a longer conversation about all of the different bracing styles I can type fluently and why the old code was in this style and the new code is not, and so on, but I'm sure none of you are interested in that. Okay, so we've got everything braced. Random chance says the count will be... Okay, and then we set the random radius. Max radius equals margin. What was margin in the old code? 12, okay. So we will... That's fine. Okay, so now we have sort of, we're set up to do, in fact, what we want really to do here is take each of these off. Seed equals seeds. So we'll remove the first one. And the first thing we'll do is we'll add it to influencers. So if I just run this now, it should generate just one cave in the middle of error. Oh, except for fix my syntax errors first. Random. No such property random. Oh. Oops. Okay. So we should do that. Then we should get just one big... Yeah, okay, so just one big cave in the middle. That's our seed. Yeah, and so we'll branch it probably 8 times. So, and so then we'll take the branching, we'll steal the branching code for a second. And so while we have counts, we do all that, we have all the stuff for that, we have all the stuff for that. We have all the stuff for that. We need to make a random position function. And we I'm not sure. Okay, so this is clamping to a tile, I think. If the end x is end x minus x base. Well, first of all, I haven't set x base. So what was x base in the old code? X base. Oh, it's the base of the cave generator, yeah, so. Okay, so we can ignore some of that. This is clamping it to the tile, and we're not worried about that when we're doing layouts. Used to be old Mythruna, you could only generate caves within what I call a tile now. It used to be called a node. That's what the NX, NY, or NZ, or whatever it was that queued me in, that's what I was talking about. Start, end, I shouldn't have to line influencer. Those are ints now. I'm probably going to regret that. We don't deal with wetness yet. We will have to. So we'll add influencers, add line. Okay, this is where we would continue on the cave. Add end. And this is a vec3d. Oh, it's not though. So we'll make random position return a vec3d, but we'll clamp it to, we'll use a floor which turns it into the lowest int. That means that, okay. And so we don't do that, but yeah, so by adding it to the seeds, that would make it, so if true, so if we were doing it for real, or if propagate, and we'll set a boolean up here. Scripting is a little different than real code because we're just testing things out, and so I leave a lot of this stuff in. So if we're propagating, we'll add it to the seeds, but otherwise we want to be able to see it, and so we'll add a new cave. I think we just continue on. Oh, I just removed the line that would have told me that. Add caves. Yeah, R sub. Point influencer takes a value. It takes a. So we'll just do that for the moment. Okay, so this should draw, you know, some random count up to 8, up to 7 rather, lines out the side. If I haven't, I haven't implemented the random position yet. Actually, let's steal the old one. Okay. Oh, I saved, so I can't easily find it. Okay, there we go. All right. So we need a. We'll do. Oops. So it's going to have a start, min distance, max distance, size. And so, and we'll want to pass our random. 54, 54. So this is another thing, you know, the IDE would of course reformat this for me, but I'm reading it as I go. We don't want, we don't really care to clamp this. Why did it, oh, I do a next delta right there, so I don't need to clamp this. I don't need to clamp this. And then I can just return X3D, and then I need to do this next delta, which will be rand So that's the other thing, is that old Mythruna did a lot of its work in Z up space. So I know we're almost to the getting to normal quitting time here. We'll get some cool stuff to show in a second here. Next delta. Yeah, so this takes a random. I keep saving, and when it's red, it's easier to see in my whole long list of crap that I've got listed. So next delta equals min distance, so a rand min distance, max distance. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I still need these. Ah. But this needs to be rand. So yeah, basically plus or minus centered over min distance, max distance, and so we do this. Random in a direction, and that should really be a Gaussian, but okay. I've learned a lot about random generation since I wrote that old Mythruna code. And there's a distribution problem with the way I'm doing it that a Gaussian distribution would have fixed, but it doesn't really matter here. Let's see what I've forgotten. No such property start for class. Okay. On line 174. Yeah, because it's not start. And where did I get it from here? Okay, I know. Let's try that. Okay, we missed something else. No signature of method. Okay. Oh, I didn't pass the rand. Okay. Ah, missed something else. Random double double. Double. Oh, next Detla. You guys should have been yelling at me about that spelling problem. And IntelliJ will actually show you spelling problems in your variables, which I think is funny. Sometimes I want to spell it wrong. Alright, so cannot find a match comes for vec3i double double, yeah, because it's an int. And like I said, I think I'm going to have to fix that because there was a reason I let radiuses be double before. Alright, we're going to get some spikes. Yay, look at that. We generated some caves. It looks kind of funny, but you'll trust me that when you're inside them, they look more cave-like. And so then what would happen would be is we would keep track of the depth, and there would be some, yeah, so see, let's try, thing is, I believe the old, yeah, the old point influencers did not have a depth. So where did the hot dogs on sphere bun? Yeah. Okay, so we passed depth. Oh, yeah, we did a recursive call. Data recursion or code recursion instead of data recursion. So let's see if we can get at least one more level of depth before I call it for the night. There is a way in Groovy to add stuff to existing classes, and I always have to look it up. That was loud, wasn't it? Base API. No, so it's not in here. No, base includes definitely not. Base object API. Yeah, this is it. And I think so we can say something like point influencer dot meta class like depth equals 0. There's some example I have somewhere. Let's see if it balks at that. Yep, it doesn't like it. No such property point influ. Oh, did I spell it wrong? No, don't think so. Oh, I did. Influencer. Yep. Okay, so let me do that. That doesn't mean it's working, but let's try it. Problem is if I get this wrong, yes, it's gonna render. So problem is if I get this wrong, then it'll end up with an infinite loop. So what we want to do is oh, that wasn't going to work anyway, because n was just a vec, and we want the actual. Oops. We want the actual cave because the way I've structured this code different. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so we set that to next. Next dot depth equals seed dot depth plus 1. And so if what we'll do is we'll say if next dot depth. All right. This gets set either way, and so we'll change propagate. If next dot depth is less than propagate, so that's how basically that'll control how far we propagate. Then we add next, and if not, then we add next down here just to draw it. And so then we set propagate to be how deep we want to go. And so this should go one more level deep. Oh, I screwed something up. Oh, der. Okay. Okay, so let's see how far we go this time. It did go one more level. A couple times. Because these got thin, or they made, Oh, I stopped it, right? Yeah. So so all of these, some of these didn't because they were too thin already. They're not going to continue propagating. There is the chance that they won't propagate at all. Let's do a depth of 3. Okay, so yeah, we see we got a little deeper in some cases. So anyway, it projects out and you start to get complicated caves, and obviously this is not even starting the seed correctly. We were just picking a really giant ball to start with. And there's no variation on the radius and so on and so forth. So, maybe that's what we'll get to next time, depending on how far I get this weekend. Thing is, caves make an excellent test of all of the world generation because they don't have any rules. Rivers have lots of rules. Roads have lots of rules. Caves have no rules at all. If they intersect with water, they fill with water. If they don't intersect with, that kind of thing. So they make really good targets of generation. Anyway, so I think this is where I'm going to end it because we're only like 6 minutes over, and seems like a good place to stop. It is possible for me to. I could technically quickly port this over to the world generator. Could I? I think so. Let's try it. I make no guarantees that this will work. But I should be able to, between here and here, I should be able to put this in. Of course, I got to put the functions outside of it. So all this will have to go outside. Yeah, so we'll just define these up here, and we'll say cut this out, cut this out. We'll say def influencers equals cave generator influencers. Whoops. So everything else should still work, except for we don't need to do this. And I got rid of the if true, so I can take this out. Well, let's see. Let's see what it complains about. Oh, there we go. New block name. Okay, that's easy. Even though I technically don't need any of that code for this. Oh, whoa. Hey, it compiled the code. It's running influencers. Certainly acts like it is anyway. See, this just takes so much longer to generate that it's not very interactive for a live stream, which is why I did the other. This way we'll get to see what the actual caves look like from inside. Hopefully. See, if it doesn't work, then we wasted a whole lot of time watching it do this. Come on. Come on, you can do it. Alright, it's about to redisplay. Look at that. Whee! Let's set some light. Magic white, mini 2. Let's go wandering around inside of our little cavey thing. Ooh, it says I had 10 concurrent viewers. If you are new to one of these videos, please like, comment, and subscribe, etc. So we ought to be able to... Oh yeah, of course, placing anything is going to take forever because it's got to recalculate collision data and stuff. The editor's not really set up for interactivity for large scenes like this. It doesn't split them up or anything. So we've got, you know, this nice little, yeah, the house just floating there in space. Whoa. Okay, so let's see if I can get a light back here. Yeah, so hopefully people didn't drop off before I did this, because you can kind of see the caves and how they turned out. Okay, so you can see we've got like caves generated, and that's what our... So anyway, so yeah, oh, that's one of the little thin caves that came, kind of made a little gorge there. So yep, it's working. And we even detected that we could generate a farm plot in the bottom of one of these craters. It's kind of cool. All right, and so that is where I'll end it, because that's kind of cool. We can see stuff, and if I end up having to do caves next week, I've got a nice thumbnail for that. So I should be able to bring up the stuff. Thanks for joining me, guys. Again, you know, like, comment, subscribe, and join the Discord. That link that was up at the top. If you run back a little bit, you can see it. And thanks again to my patrons. And I will see you guys online and see you guys next week. I hope you guys have a great week and do productive things with your lives and have some cool stuff. And I will catch you next time. Thanks.